Welcome to Elevate Your Ride, the podcast dedicated to elevating your performance in the saddle. I'm Ellie, your personal trainer.
And I'm Lauren, your mindset coach. On today's episode, we're going to talk about what it takes to prepare for a horse show about a month out, both physically and mentally. We're going to specifically talk about the Arizona Sun Circuit show because we're about a month out from that right now. And so we're going to talk about the things that Ellie would advise her clients to do physically to prepare for such an intense show. And then we're also going to discuss the things that I would recommend mentally for us to do to be able to get ready to show at our peak performance. So, Ellie, when it comes time to get ready for a big horse show like this, when we're about a month out, what are some things that you will focus on with your clients with these kind of last training sessions leading up to it?
Yeah, for sure. So, the main thing you want to be focusing on, like a month out from a big show where you have big goals, you're spending a lot of money, like that's a lot of pressure. So, you want to make sure that you're not saying, oh my gosh, I have so much to do between now and then. And you just overload yourself, right? So, I would say, the biggest thing that you want to make sure you're not doing, making sure that you're setting yourself up for success when you're heading to a big show like that, sometimes you can start to get a little bit nervous. Sometimes you feel like maybe you're not as prepared as you want to be. So you'll start cramming things in last minute, upping the workout intensities, just go on this crazy new diet, like changing a bunch of things. And I always advise to my clients not to change a whole lot of things on their routine going into a big show. You want to focus on making those changes as needed a couple months before a show. So if you feel like you need stronger legs or a stronger core, I'm sorry to say it's not going to happen a month before the horse show. If you have been working on building and working towards your goals in the month leading up to the horse show, then the month before you can just kind of focus on keeping on coasting, right? You should be in a spot where you're set up for success and you're prepared to be able to continue doing the things that you need to do to prepare. So by coasting, I don't mean, you can take the whole month off. That's not what I mean at all. But you want to be setting yourself up so that way maybe a week or a couple days before you leave for the horse show, you can kind of ease off a little bit. You don't want to be pushing hard right up to the day that you leave or the day before you leave with your workouts. And part of that is you want to make sure that you've been prioritizing your recovery in the days before you leave for the horse show. Partly because what you really don't want to do is get to the horse show and be sore because you did legs super hard, or you show up to the horse show and you've got a sprained ankle because you wanted to fit in one last run and push yourself really hard, right? So making sure that the month and the weeks and the days leading up that you're not pushing yourself so hard that you're potentially going to cause an injury, that you definitely want to avoid. That would be like worst case scenario, right? So in the months leading up to the horse show, making sure that you're working out consistently, you've got a plan, you've stayed on track with your plan, and kind of a month out, like I said before, I would just make sure that you're keeping on going with that plan, not changing a whole lot. You could still be like upping your reps and upping the weight just a little bit. I wouldn't do anything super crazy. Basically, I wouldn't change much a month out. Just kind of keep going, focus on your nutrition, focus on your recovery. So when I say focus on nutrition, what I mean is, making sure that you're giving your muscles as strong of a chance as possible to do what you're asking them to do. So if you're wanting to build some muscle, build some strength, you need to make sure you're getting in plenty of carbs and plenty of protein to set your muscles up so that way they can repair the muscle, recover the muscle, and then give your muscles the energy and give your body the energy that it needs to do the workouts that you want it to do. So you don't want to say, oh my gosh, well, my horse shows in a month and my shafts don't fit. So I'm going to, cut my calories in half and I'm going to go do all these insane workouts so I can fit into my shafts, right? Well, that's not really setting your body up for success when you get to the horse show. If you're worried about fitting into your chaps or fitting into your show shirt, it's really, really tough to find that out and try to change that in a month. Not saying it can't be done, I'm saying it's not the best way to go about it. If you feel like you need to lose some inches, lose some weight, that's something you wanna be working on 3, 4, 5 months out from a horse show, not 1 month out.
But
So
what we get in a situation where we only have 1 month? I might be speaking for myself.
ugh.
What do we do?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. Well, I think that I think if you have a month, like I said, I think you can do it, right? So like for you, because if you've never worked out before, it's going to be pretty tough for you to get on a schedule where you can make that happen in a month. If you've been pretty consistent and you just kind of need to up your intensity a little bit that month before to kind of lose that extra weight, then I would say that that's easier to do. I wouldn't do anything crazy. Like I said a couple minutes ago, do not cut your calories in half. Do not do a bunch of excess cardio. That's not a healthy way to go about that. I would make sure, like I said, that you're prioritizing your muscle recovery. So eating carbs, eating protein, fueling your body. Try to cut out the excess calories. I'm not saying don't eat ice cream, don't eat pizza. I'm saying, maybe instead of doing that every day, maybe do it like once or twice a week. You know what I mean? Like try and find that balance where you're not completely cutting things out of your life, but where you're setting yourself up for success for that goal of losing a little bit of inches and weight before you go to the horse show. I would look into trying to maybe lose a little bit of water weight the week before the show. That
Can you
but then
explain what
it's a
means for that, or how do we know if we have water weight?
if you feel like you're bloated and just feel like that's a good question. That's a really good question, actually.
If you don't wanna answer that one, we can skip that part, but I was just curious.
No, it's a good question. You're just making me use parts of my brain that I haven't had to use for a while. I haven't had anybody ask me that question for actually, I don't know if anybody's ever asked me that question. For me personally, I feel like I've got some excess water weight when I pinch my skin and it just feels like there's just like I just feel bloated. I don't know how else to describe it better than that. Like you just feel like you're just bloated and there's just like there's more fluid in your body than normal. So like for example, for me, I get really bad shin splints sometimes. So I like if I run too much like in the showmanship or like on the treadmill, I'll start getting a lot of like edema and fluid built up in my legs. So I know that for me, I can't do a lot of that sort of stuff like a week or two before a horse show because it'll make me more swollen. So maybe if you have something like that where you know that something makes you a little bit more swollen or that you know a certain food bloats you a little bit more or a certain drink or too much sugar, that sort of stuff, I would just try to avoid that like a week or two before the horse show and I even use compression socks on my legs before I go to the horse show because I straight up won't be able to zip up my English boots or my chaps if I have that swelling in my leg. So making sure that you're icing, foam rolling, stretching if you have excess fluid, excess edema, that sort of stuff, like from the concussion of running, from training too hard, that sort of stuff. So if you're getting that sort of fluid built up, make sure that you're, trying not to build that up before you go to the horse show. But for as far as losing excess water weight, I know that a couple ideas would be just to move your body. So sometimes just going on a quick walk or doing a quick workout routine can help like decluff and help you get rid of some of that bloating feeling. Another thing you can do is actually drink more water, which doesn't sound super intuitive, but it's going to help balance out your sodium and your potassium levels. And then part of what causes the bloating feeling is because your body's dehydrated, so it's holding on to too much water. So drinking more water can help with that a lot as well. You can also just increase your potassium intake to help balance out your sodium to potassium levels. So eating like a banana, something like that. Eating less salt will also help with that ratio. So watching how much salt you're putting on your food, that is definitely going to play a big role in that as well. Straight up just eating less processed foods, less takeout food, less restaurant food is going to be really important as well because those tend to be really, really high in sodium. Canned foods is kind of another sneaky one that's high in sodium. So if you're eating a lot of canned foods like canned beans, canned vegetables, that sort of stuff, maybe think about, like, rinsing those off first before you eat them to help just kinda get rid of some of that salt. Alcohol is another big one. So the more alcohol that you're consuming is going to impact your dehydration levels. So if you're drinking a lot of alcohol, alcohol is going to be dehydrating you, not hydrating you. So watching your alcohol intake maybe that month and especially that week before you leave for the show. And then I wouldn't necessarily go for like a diuretic medication, especially like right before you go to a big horse show. I would not recommend that. But you could look into, like, natural diuretics. So a couple I know off the top of my head are artichokes, asparagus, cucumber. Foods like that will definitely help as well.
Yeah, and, like, for me, like, you were talking about the different foods and inflammation, like, I know that there are certain foods for me that make me just basically gain 2 pounds overnight, and I know it's just water
Yeah.
weight. It
Yes.
Yeah, they're very inflammatory, but I wouldn't be able to figure that out probably a month before a horse show. That's taken years of me kind of
Right.
listening to the body and seeing how things respond and being able to dial it in. And so for me, like a month before, I'll be like, okay, I need to be way more intentional about what I'm fueling myself with because the other parts of the year I can just kind of get away with it. But right before I'm like, okay, it's game face time, like, you can suck it up for 30 days and make sure that you stay really dialed in.
Yeah, and then make sure that when, you're done with the next horse show, that you're setting yourself up for success for the next show. So if you know that at this horse show, it's been a little bit hard for you to zip up your shop, zip up your show shirt, that sort of stuff, then don't go back to your old habits when you get back from the horse show. Like, make some sustainable changes. That way you can set yourself up for the next horse show.
Absolutely, and just because one horse show you might not be able to zip your shops up doesn't mean you're not going to be able to the next time. So don't just throw the baby out with the bathwater, slowly get closer and closer to your goals, and just because you couldn't get it maybe exactly where you wanted it to by this first one, keep plucking away at it and you'll get there.
Yeah, I mean, another realistic option is like, let's say that, it's like a week before and you just straight up can't get into your clothes. Instead of hitting the panic button, you know, shop extenders are a wonderful piece of equipment. And a lot of times at horse shows, especially at big shows, there's clothing booths. To me, there's no reason why you can't buy, a $50 show shirt to show in that weekend. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
yes, it's a big
absolutely.
show. Yes, it's not ideal, but I'd rather that somebody feel comfortable in clothes than, like a busted can of biscuits. Nobody feels confident when they feel like a busted can of biscuits. So, making sure that you have clothing available to you that is going to make you feel as confident as you can. If you know you're not gonna fit into that tight horsemanship shirt and you know that there's no way it's gonna zip, then maybe don't bring it. Because every time you look at the hanger, you're just gonna get self-conscious and you're just gonna feel bad about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and like you said, it's the beauty of day shirts being popular now. You can
Yes.
get a CR Ranchwear shirt or a Wrangler shirt, and as long as it fits whatever your
Yes.
body is in that day, like, buy something that fits you in that moment, not what you want it
Yes.
to fit in a month, but where it fits you in that moment, and that is going to look so sharp and so classy on you, and you're just gonna feel so confident and be able to step out there and say, "Here I am, here's my horse, give me your best."
Yes, yes, for sure. So then back to what I was talking about before we got into the waterway and that sort of stuff. So just making sure that you're eating the types of foods that are going to set you up for success and set your body up for success to, keep having that muscle recovery the month before the show. I'd make sure that I'm doing extra stretching, extra foam rolling, extra mobility, that sort of stuff. Because, like I said a couple minutes ago, injury prevention is bottom line top priority the month before the show. You do not want to sprain an ankle. You do not want to hurt your knee. You don't want to be doing things that are out of your norm right before the show. So, focusing on your nutrition and then your water intake can really, really help with that recovery as well. So, in general, a good rule of thumb is to try to drink about half your body weight in ounces of water a day. So, if you weigh 100 pounds, then you'd want to be drinking 50 ounces of water a day. So, up your water intake the weeks before you go to the horse show. Make sure you're prioritizing those carbs and those proteins. That way, when you get to the show, you are fueled and you are ready because We all know when we get to the horse show, especially when it's really long and if it's far away, it's really hard to meal prep for that time period. And sometimes at some shows, there's just not a whole lot of great fueling options available. So when I go to a horse show, I'm not necessarily looking for like the healthiest like salad option. I'm looking for like what's going to fuel my body. So if I go up to somewhere and I've got a show in the horsemanship later in the day and there's the option of getting like a salad, deep fried wings or a burger, I'm probably gonna get the burger because I know that the burger has the carbs, the protein. It's not fried, but it's not a salad because I just know that I'm not gonna get much fuel from a salad. And again, that's just from me knowing my body, right? So if you've been prioritizing fueling your body the weeks and the month before the horse show, it's gonna make it so much easier when you get to that show because you're just set up for success. You're fueled, you're ready to go. If you're not fueled, if you're not ready to go, and then you get there and you're not eating quite as well, you're not drinking quite as well, you've probably been up late, like, it's gonna be a lot harder to perform optimally that way. Hi, everyone. It's your personal trainer, Ellie. If you're looking to become a stronger, more balanced, and flexible rider, I'm here to help. I offer virtual personal training sessions and customized workout plans that you can complete on your own. As a fellow competitor, I understand the physical demands riding requires, and my goal is to help you perform your best for your horse, whether you're preparing for a show or just want to improve your everyday rides. Visit lopeanddowntherailfitness.com or click on my website tab in the notes of this podcast episode to learn more. Let's work together to elevate your ride.
Are you looking for that extra competitive edge, struggling with show pin anxiety, or looking to set and achieve meaningful goals with your horse? Schedule a session with me, Lauren, your dedicated mindset coach. As an experienced competitor, I understand the mental demands required to excel at the highest level, and am here to support you in building a plan to help you stay accountable and reaching those goals. For more information, check out laurencervelli.com or click on the website link in our show notes. Let's work together to elevate your ride. Can we talk about sleep for a second? Is there
Yes.
such a thing as being able to bank sleep?
Yeah, so we talked about that. Can't remember which episode it was. It was a couple episodes ago. But so that sleep bank theory, right? Where so you can look at your sleep like a bank account and you can make more deposits into it in the weeks and the month before the show. That way when you're at the show, you can take more out of the sleep bank. So if I was going to a big show starting a couple weeks out, maybe even up to a month out, I'm going to be making sure that instead of getting my 8 hours of normal sleep, I'm going to try and get 8.5 or maybe even 9, especially like the week and the couple days right before you leave. You don't, if your 8 hours is your normal, you don't want to be getting 5, 6, 7 in, especially like the week before you go to the horse show.
And is there any kind of advice or suggestions on how to be able to increase your sleep time? Because I know for me personally, I can try going to bed earlier and I will just wake up earlier. Do you have any advice or thoughts on that?
Mm. That's a tough one. I personally would say that if you want to go to a big show, then you probably have some big goals. And if you want to achieve those goals, then you need to be putting in the work and doing the effort to getting you there. So, in the month before the horse show, if that means that you don't watch as much TV or you don't spend as much time going out and eating with your friends and going out late, that sort of stuff, like making those little sacrifices the couple weeks and the month before you go to the show isn't the worst idea in the world. But if you're having that problem where even if you go to bed earlier and then you're just waking up earlier, then I would say that you need to do a little bit more research with your body to see why is your body not accepting the sleep. And I
Never
wish
thought
I
of
had yeah, because there's a reason, right? So, like, for me, I have to the best of my knowledge, I have no sleeping issues at all. I could go and sleep 10 hours just fine, and or I could go and sleep 8 and be just fine. Like, my body will accept whatever sleep I want it to a certain extent, right? Like, I wouldn't be able to go sleep, like, 12 hours unless I was exhausted, but I would try to figure out why your body is not wanting that excess sleep Is it anxiety? Are you worried about what you have going on the next day and you have so much to do that you can't really get into that REM cycle? Or is it because you have something metabolic going on that isn't letting you go into that deep resting state? Like, what is it about your body that's not wanting to do it?
Oh, that's really interesting. I'm gonna have to do a little research on that too because I never thought of that wordage that you used where you said, "Why isn't your body accepting the extra sleep that you're allowing it to have?" So that's
Yes.
a really cool way to reframe that.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to do some research on that because I know that that's been a little bit of an issue for you specifically for a while. So if that should be something that I would look into for you.
Yeah, because I can go to bed at 9 and I'll wake up at 4. If I go to bed at 10, I'll wake up
Wow.
at 5, and I just always, like, kind of read about that deal, but I just always wake up early.
I wonder if that's because you grew up and were living on a ranch for so long that you were so like that's just your body's internal clock of when you get up.
Probably, it's like the cows are
Yeah.
gonna break down the barn if you don't go out there.
So if that's the case, then I have no idea how to fix that. I have no idea how to break that kind of a habit. I wish I did. I wish I had better advice for that piece, but I don't.
Go straight to work at 4 o'clock and then take a nap at 2 o'clock and
That is
yeah,
one option.
naps too. How
If a nap works for you, then I think that that's not a horrible thing. You know, if you need to increase your sleep bank, then I don't see why putting in like a 30-minute nap during the day, if that works for you. Some people are not nappers and they cannot take naps. But if that works for you, then why not try it? Because
yeah,
it's still depositing sleep. Now, I wouldn't say that's a good idea if you go to take your 30-minute nap and then now all of a sudden you're going to bed at 9 and waking up at 3, then that's not helping. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
if you can take a 30-minute nap during the day and then still sleep from like 9 to 4 or from 10 to 4, then that I see is beneficial.
absolutely. Okay, well, that's a good
Yeah.
idea. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll look into napping.
I'm a big proponent of napping. I love a good nap.
Yeah, so how about is there anything that we can do to prepare for the amount of walking that is generally required at horse shows if we maybe aren't able to go to the gym and just walk on the treadmill for 30,000 steps? Is there any type of prep that we can do?
A month out, that might be enough time to build up your walking endurance. I wish that there was a better way, but you just got to walk more. I don't know that there's a way to build that endurance without actually doing it. If somebody's figured out, that's great. I sure as heck haven't figured out how to do that yet. Multitasking is a beautiful tool. So, like for me, it's a little easier for me because I work from home and I have a job that I can walk on my treadmill during the day. So, I try to walk maybe about 4 to 5 miles a day ish, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. And I try to walk continuously as much as possible to build the endurance, but just trying to get it in at all is the most important piece. So, if you're gonna watch a TV show, do it while you're walking on the treadmill. Do it, if you're gonna take a long work call, walk on a treadmill or take a walk outside if it's nice outside. I know it's a little bit of a tough time of year to be walking outside, but you gotta walk. But if you are used to walking 1 mile a day and you're going to somewhere like Sun Circuit where you're gonna be walking 10 miles a day, that's gonna be a little bit tough for your body to adapt, and a month is not a long enough time to get your body used to walking from 1 mile a day to 10 miles a day. I would say a month out, you could go from walking 1 mile a day to walking 2 miles a day, but you can't go from walking 1 mile a day to 10 miles a day. Your body's just not gonna hold up to it. And then, like I said, worrying about injury prevention is so crucial in that month before. You don't wanna be creating more edema, creating more swelling, inflammation in your legs, and making your joints unhappy, making your muscles too sore, that sort of stuff. Because then that's also gonna make it hard for you to go to ride and train during that time period. So that's something you have to keep in mind as well is you're gonna be riding pretty hard that month before the big horse show. So you also have to make sure that you're training so that you're not so sore that you can't go and train with your horse trainer. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because there's nothing worse than trying to get on your horse after a really intense leg day, and
Yeah.
things just don't move the way that they should.
Yeah, so I would say that you could up your intensity by like 10 to 15% during that month, but any more than that, and you're going to notice a decrease in performance, not an increase in performance.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, with the horse show season that we kind of have nowadays, it seems like our off season is so short.
So
So,
short.
we have to not necessarily, as you were saying earlier, coast on our fitness throughout the season because we're just going to keep going from horse show to horse show to horse show. So,
Yeah.
we're going to probably still be able to build a little in there. It's just timing it correctly so we aren't too sore for our horse shows.
Yes, so during the off season is a great time to start a new routine and then be building on that during the year. It is, I will say, it can be kind of challenging to try to create a new routine like right in the thick of show season because one, your body needs time to adapt to the plan and to, you kind of need to find your boundaries a little bit. You need to see how hard you can push, and it's hard to do that in the middle of show season. I can't push somebody that hard when they're going to a show next week, or when they're going to a show in 2 or 3 weeks. So that part can be a little bit challenging. So push your body during the off season, find the routine that works for you that's going to get you for your towards your goals. Okay.
So when we're going up to these shows and we're about a month out, do you recommend still kind of like a legs, arm, full body split, or would you transition to more focus on upper body, less focus on legs, or more focus on full body, more focus on legs? What do you kind of think about, or do you just stick to the program and maybe have the intensity of it be reduced?
You could look at it as one of 2 ways. I don't think either one is wrong. I think that they're just different and you need to figure out what works best for you. In most cases, I would say keep going on your routine. Try not to change a whole lot that month before. Again, you could increase a little bit if you feel like you really, really need to that month, but make sure the week before that you kind of drop it back down. Do not train super hard right up to the butt of when you leave. That's not a great idea because then your muscles need more time to recover. So if you feel like your routine has been working for you and you just need more, right? Like let's say that you've been working really hard on your legs and your upper body and you're feeling good, but you need that like extra 10% of strength, then I would say up your reps, that's maybe up your weight a little bit, that first 3 weeks of the month and then back it off a little bit that last week of the month. But let's say that you've been working really hard on your routine. You've been doing an upper body, a lower body, a full body split, and you are a month out and you're just feeling like your arms are in a good place, but your legs are not in a good place. I would maybe change your split to do legs, legs, and then full body. I wouldn't cut out the upper body entirely, but you could change your plan a little bit to say, you know what, I'm still going to work on my upper body, but I'm going to be more focused on my lower body. That I would say is okay to do the month before, but when you get back from the horse show, then you might just need to evaluate your plan and say, is my plan benefiting me the way that I need it to? And after you can say yes or no, then you can go from there. It might just be that, your upper body is naturally strong, so you need to focus on legs more. Or maybe after you focused on legs harder for a month, maybe then your legs have caught up and you can go back to your old split of upper once, lower once, full body once. So that is kinda dependent on you and what you feel like you need.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like that's pretty easy to follow. So just listen to your body is kind of
Yeah.
what I'm feeling through this whole episode is listen
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, if you feel like you need more legs, like I said, I wouldn't cut out your upper body entirely out of the picture, but you could try and change that way you're focused a little bit more on it. Or if you've been working out 3 days a week, maybe you do a 4th workout and you do legs an extra day. Like, you need to figure out a way to still kinda maintain your plan, maintain your course, but focus it on a little bit different area. That I would say you can do a month out. Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in to Elevate Your Ride. We're so excited to continue helping you elevate your performance in the saddle. To keep bringing you quality content and information, we're asking you to help us. Tell your friends about us on our podcast, like and share a meaningful quote you saw on our social media, Write us a review on Spotify or Facebook. You can also join our Facebook group and ask all your health and fitness questions, or maybe post a success story to motivate another amateur. Your engagement really helps us support and encourage the equestrian community. We're also inviting sponsors and supporters to help us build our show. As a sponsor, starting at just $150, you'll receive marketing on our podcast, website, and growing social media platforms for your business. It's the perfect way to connect with the equestrian community and showcase your brand to our dedicated listeners. And for our supporters, your $50 contribution gets you a shout out on our social media and website. Every bit of support really helps fuel the show and helps us inspire and motivate equestrians. So, if you're interested in learning more about that, you can scroll down to the show notes of this episode and look for the become a supporter or become a sponsor links and click on those to get some more information. Thank you for listening. We can't wait to continue expanding our platform and helping you elevate your ride.
Hey, Elevate Your Ride fans. Are you loving our show and looking for a way to show your support? Check out our line of Elevate Your Ride merchandise. From stylish t shirts to cozy hoodies to journals and hats, we have everything you need to represent your favorite podcast. Ready to gear up? Click on the Buy Our Merchandise Here link in the podcast notes, or head on over to our website, elevateyourride.co, and click on the Store tab. Thank you for your support. Make sure to like, follow, and share our platform with your friends.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like that's actionable and we can do that.
Yeah, that actually brings up a good point. Don't do something that's not going to work for you or that you're not going to stick to. If you want to change, if you want to focus on your legs more and you feel like you need more leg strength, it's a month out before the horse show, commit to the change. Don't say that you're going to commit to it and then not commit to it. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to commit to something, then do it.
Yeah, exactly. And follow through and don't get discouraged if you don't get maybe the results that you were hoping for. Well, keep going until you do get the results. Maybe that it does take the, like we talked about, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months,
Right.
but you got to start at 1 month.
Hmm. So, what do you do mentally preparing for a horse show a month out?
So, a big part for mentally is going to be making sure that you are prepared with packing, prepared with entries, prepared with training. All of these things are going to be very important to lowering your stress load going into the horse show. And it's so funny because we focus so much on our performance in the arena, but a lot of our stress, especially a month out, comes from everything outside the arena. So make sure that when we are getting ready for a horse show and we know that it's going to be 30 days from now, we've talked to our bosses and we know what our work demands are going to be. And if somebody has to fill in for us, well then well in advance, we're making lists, we're giving them tools, we're making sure that everything is going to be covered while we're gone. If we take our work with us, well, we're going to make sure that all of our technologies are going to be functioning and functionable at wherever the location of our horse show is. That is not something that you want to find out the morning of the horse show when you have a Zoom meeting and you realize you have no Wi-Fi, but then you have to show in 3 hours. You're going to be so frazzled from that Zoom meeting that you're not going to be able to compete at your highest level. So making sure that all those little things are taken care of. So that way, day of, you do your meeting, you go show your horse. It's a no-brainer. And then packing too. That is something that a lot of us will wait till the very last minute because you never know what you might need. But really, we a lot of times know what we need. If it's a 4-day horse show, we need 4 pairs of jeans. Or maybe we wear our jeans twice, so we need 2 pairs of jeans. We need 4 t-shirts. We need a nightshirt. We need sneakers and we need boots, right? There's a lot of basic staples that you know you're going to need. So pack them as soon as you can. Sometimes I'll pack even 2 weeks out just because I know that the week or 2 weeks before are super busy and I might have one free day 2 weeks before and I say, okay, I'm just going to pack right now. Being able to take some of those worries and stresses away is going to be really huge. Make sure that your entries are done on time. You don't have to know every single class that you're going to enter, but you could at least get one class entered and not have to worry about late fees, not have to worry about the office not having your information. It's just it's a no-brainer deal to just get it done early and not have to worry about it. And then also just being able to know that you've put the time in at the barn to feel like you are as confident and capable as you possibly can be. Of course, we all want to be able to step up and ride and show up like Andrea Fapani, but as long as we show up as the best version of ourselves with the things, the skills that we are capable of, I think that we can be really, really confident and proud that we have put in the work to be the best version that we are now. And like we mentioned earlier, that version doesn't have to be your best possible version because we're constantly working towards being better. But as long as we're the best that we could be that day, like, I think we should be able to feel really, really happy and confident with what we are putting out and putting together. So I think the biggest thing that we can take away from this mentally is preparation and not procrastination. One of my favorite sayings was always proper preparation prevents poor performance. And I think there's just so much truth in those words. And if we can take that into the show season, especially starting a month out and just checking things off our lists, we're going to be so much happier and so much more confident.
Yeah, for sure. I 100% agree that setting yourself up for success in your personal life as much as you can, don't be trying to find a house sitter the week before you go to the horse show.
Exactly, like, things like that, a dog sitter, a house sitter, all
Yeah.
the little things that we're like, "Ah, we'll just deal with it later, we'll deal with it later." Well, you know what? Deal with it now so
Yeah.
then you don't have to worry about it, because like we were talking about before, even with that sleeping, those kinda things will rattle around in the back of your mind, and you might think that you've put it away, but have you ever woken up in the middle of the night and then thought, "I need a dog sitter?"
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when it's just not being dealt with and just floating around in the back, it will come to haunt you. So just deal with things as quickly as you can. Doesn't mean rush into anything, but as soon as you've made a decision, "Hey, I'm gonna need a dog sitter," well, then book the dog sitter.
Oh, right. Yeah. Doing what you can to prepare in the weeks and the months up before the horse show is super, super important. When do you start visualizing your ride for the horse show?
So I visualize my next ride. As soon as my ride has finished, I'm already visualizing my next ride. But when it comes to showing, I'll wait to pretend that I'm in the show pen until I have the pattern that we're going to be competing with. Because for me, being able to visualize the exact arena with the exact pattern and the way that I hope that they're going to lay out the cones is extremely helpful. So I'll start visualizing showing at that show as soon as they release the patterns. But I will visualize practicing and warming up at that horse show and what that facility is going to be like, what those grounds are going to be like, what those announcers sound like, what the weather feels like. Some of us maybe haven't been to a specific horse show, so that's a little more difficult to be able to do. But, go on Facebook and find a friend who has been to that horse show and take a look at their videos and then imagine yourself in that same area. Because I think being comfortable with yourself in that environment is going to help lower your stress as well. And so just be able to imagine yourself being there and being present, that's going to really, really help.
Yes, 100%, totally agree. So you actually kind of answered something I was gonna ask is what if you're going to a big show that you've never been to before and you have no idea what the grounds look like, you have no idea what the setup is gonna look like, that sort of stuff. So and then also, what if you get to the horse show and you're supposed to be showing outside and then like in Arizona, it floods or there's a windstorm and everything has to get moved inside or, you know, you have to change arenas or they set up the cone facing a different direction than you thought they were going to be. How do you visualize, but then also make it so that way you can have like adjustments to your visualization at the same time, if that makes sense?
Yes, absolutely. Because, visualization is great when we can imagine everything exactly how it's supposed to be, but very rarely is real life going to be how we imagine it, right? So a big thing is adaptation and being flexible. And that's one of the things that I always get a kick out of when I'm visualizing because usually, you know, there'll be something that goes wrong in my visualization. And I use that as an opportunity to be like, oh, okay, well, let's refocus my brain. How quickly can we get back on track? And so by visualizing and allowing yourself to imagine things going wrong, it will help you with that flexibility of being like, "Well, that's okay because I know that I've visualized things going wrong and I've gotten them to come back together." So in real life, when things go wrong, maybe it's not necessarily going wrong in the pattern, but going wrong in the way I thought it should go. Well, that's okay because I know that I can adapt and I can overcome. So a big thing is just allowing yourself that flexibility and not thinking that things will go how you want them to because they very rarely do.
How do you not get overwhelmed with the idea of going to a big show the month, the week, the day before you leave for the horse show? How do you not amp yourself up during that time period before you even leave?
I think the biggest thing is to remind yourself why you're going. And a lot of times we're going because we want to, number one, challenge ourselves and push ourselves to a different level maybe than we have been. And number two, because it's a fun experience to be able to go to these horse show with our friends, with our barn family, with our horses, see different places. And we have to remind ourselves of those joys and of those challenges that we are putting ourselves into. Because as overwhelming and stressful as this can be, we ultimately, at the end of the day, have to remember that it's our choice to go to these horse shows. It's our choice to put ourselves in these stressful situations, which sounds so wild. Why would anybody choose to be stressed out? And it's because we are passionate about this, and there is something bigger than the quote unquote stress that is involved in it. There is something bigger in the passion that we have for showing, something bigger, much bigger in the passion that we have for our horses and the bond that taking them somewhere new is going to create and really strengthen because we learn something more about them, they learn something more about us, and we have something to then go ahead and work on the next time. So remind yourself that this is a choice to go and that this ultimately is something fun and exciting and a great challenge that you and your trainer and your friends and your family believe that you are up for. So just take it as it comes.
Let's say that you're preparing for the show, it's like a week or 2 out, and you have kind of a rough ride on your horse. Something just doesn't go right, like the horse is not changing leads for you, or you can't get it to haunch to the left, or something else. Your horse bucks when you go to do the extension into your lope, right? Like, something not desirable happens that you're like, "Oh my gosh, if that happened at the horse show, that'd be horrible." How do you recover from that so close to the show?
Yeah. So I actually love it when something like this happens because when something like this happens before we go show, we usually will then sit down and break down why did this happen? We're going to assess the case that happened, and we're going to try to work through different alternatives and solutions to fix it and prevent it from happening. So, therefore, when something bad happens before a horse show, look at that and say, yes, thank goodness this happened then, because now I am better equipped to prevent it or handle it if it were to happen at a horse show. Because if that didn't happen and your horse does that at the horse show, you're not going to have the time or the ability to sit and think through a solution for it. So you want those things to happen beforehand because if everything is perfect leading up to it, you won't have as many skills going into the horse show when the environment is just so much different. So really embrace if there is maybe an unideal ride because you're going to learn so much from that that it's going to be handled by the time you get to the horse show and you are going to be able to handle it by the time you get to the horse show.
Thank you for listening to Elevate Your Ride. Find us on Instagram and Facebook, all linked in the podcast notes. We'll see you next time. The information provided by Elevate Your Ride is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended as medical or professional advice. While we discuss health and fitness topics related to equestrians, the content provided through this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. The views expressed by the host and guests on Elevate Your Ride are their own and should not be taken as professional guidance. We strive to provide accurate and up to date information, but we cannot guarantee that the information will be applicable to every individual listener or that it reflects the most current research or guidelines. Before making any changes to your health and fitness routine, we strongly recommend consulting with a qualified professional who can provide personalized advice based on your individual needs and circumstances. Elevate Your Ride and its creators will not be liable for any direct, indirect, consequential, special, exemplary, or other damages arising from the use of information on this podcast. Thank you for listening to Elevate Your Ride. We are committed to providing high quality content and appreciate your trust in us as a source of information for your health and fitness journey.